Hey everybody, Chris here again, and I'm gonna do a video for you guys about what to look for when you're buying a used revolver. There's a lot of these coming on the market lately. In fact, I just picked this up a few days ago, um, and you can get some really good deals on some really nice quality revolvers now with the buying frenzy going on and everybody dumping their old stuff to buy whatever they're afraid of is going to be banned. So there's definitely some things you need to look for, and I'm going to take you through a little checklist on what to look for with an older revolver like this. Now, of course, first thing, safety check it. There's nothing in the cylinder. First thing you want to look at, just looking at it, is the finish. What's the finish like? Is it up to your standards? You know what you're looking for. This one's a little rough around the edges, but that's okay. It's still a perfectly good shooter and just fine for my purposes. So while you're looking at it, you want to look at the muzzle and the crown and make sure. I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit. Add a little bit of light. What you're looking for is to make sure there's no damage or pretty much any damage to the crown or the muzzle. If it's not too badly damaged, that's not necessarily a no-go, but you do need to factor that into your negotiations with as far as price, because it is going to be something you're going to want to fix, because that's this crown right here. That's the last place that the bullet touches before it leaves the barrel. So if that's not straight, it's not going to shoot straight. While you're looking at the front, the other thing you want to look at is this area right in here where the crane meets up with the cylinder, or the frame, excuse me. And you can see there's a little bit of a gap there, and that's fine, but it shouldn't be any more than that. And when you gently push on the cylinder, that gap should not open up at all. If it has, that means somebody's done that Jack Webb maneuver where they spin the cylinder and snap it closed. That's very damaging to a revolver, especially a bigger end frame size gun like this. So once you've looked at the outside, next thing you want to do is see if the cylinder, all the chambers in the cylinder are indexing properly. And you can do that just by looking at it and then cock it slowly and just look and make sure everything's lining up the way it should. While you're doing this, the other thing you want to test for is how good the cylinder locks up, and you do that by holding the hammer back and pulling the trigger. When you've done that, this is as locked up as the revolver is going to be, and then you see if the cylinder will move any. This will move a little bit, and that's okay, maybe a millimeter or two. That's not uncommon at all for a Smith & Wesson. The other thing while you're doing that is you want to test for what's called end shake. Does the cylinder move forward or backward at all? If it does, you probably want to pass on that one, because that's not an easy thing to fix. So you continue do it, and you check for the lockup and how it's indexing on all your cylinders, or all your chambers in the cylinder. And then the last thing you want to check for is what's called push off. If somebody's taken this apart and fancies themselves a gunsmith and has worked the sear a little too much, what'll happen is you can just, when you've cocked the revolver, when you can just push on the hammer and it'll snap forward. This won't do it. I've seen a few that will. So that's pretty much the stuff you're going to do on the outside. And then inside, I'm going to open it up. I don't know if it's going to capture it really well, but you want to look inside all the chambers in the cylinder, and especially with a 357 or a 44, something where you can shoot 38 special or 44 special, you want to see if there's a really bad ring down in the cylinders here, or in each chamber. from somebody shooting a lot of 38 specials. That's not too bad, and you can usually clean it out, but it's just something to be aware of. You also want to look at the at your ejector rod here. Make sure the cylinder turns freely and there's no wobble in this ejector rod. If this ejector rod wobbles a little bit and isn't straight when you spin the cylinder like that, it means the same thing. It's probably been slammed into somebody's spun it and then slammed it into the closed. So another area you want to look at, I'm going to get some extra light on it again, is this area right here. The forcing cone. This is where the bullet exits the cylinder and enters the barrel. And you just want to look and make sure there's no cracks, especially right here on the inside edge of it. And you also want to make sure somebody hasn't taken and used a chamfering tool and put a bevel on this. That was common quite a bit, and the reason you might want to pass on that if you see it done is you don't know who did the work. If that's work you want to do and you know how to do it, that's fine. Or you know somebody that can do it, that's fine. But if work that someone's done that you don't know about, you probably want to pass on. And one last thing you want to look at is this area right here, right above the forcing cone. You can see that little line there, and that's what's called flame cutting. Now this one isn't too bad. This isn't definitely not in the no-go category, but what that was from is you running a really, really light load, say 110 grain bullet with some really hot powder, and what happens is the bullet exits the cylinder faster than a heavier one will, so the powder isn't as much powder isn't burned as would normally be, so you get extra amount of flame and hot gas coming out, and it cuts that. There's some misconceptions about that. Some people think if you keep doing it, it'll eventually cut through your top strap right here. It won't. It'll go to a certain point and stop, but if it's excessive, yeah, it could weaken it. So that's just something to be looking for too. And one last thing, you don't see it a lot, but with most revolvers, but you will on these big end frames and revolvers with a heavier cylinder, is, I'm going to zoom in here. You want to look at your notches where your locking lug locks up the cylinder. And this one has it a little bit. You can see this is what's called peened. The metal right here, get my big finger out of the way. This metal right here has been peened over a little bit, and what that's from is firing a double action revolver really quickly in double action mode, and especially a big end frame like this, or the Ruger Super Red Hawk and 357. That cylinder is so massive because of how small the 357 cartridges are, or charge holes are. It's just so much weight. If you fire this thing really, really, really fast, it'll peen those notches like that. This isn't bad. Obviously I bought it, so it's not in the no-go category, but if you see it really excessive, that's something else you might want to be on the lookout for. So that's about it. Oh, one last thing. When you're looking at it, let me see if I can get enough light in there to see it. You'll see that gap right there in between the forcing cone and the cylinder. Now, you should see a little bit of daylight in there. If you want to know exactly how wide that gap is, you need a set of feeler gauges that you can get at any auto parts store for about $5 or so, and you can check that and tell precisely how wide that gap is. Now, depending on what you're doing, what you want that revolver for. There's a range of between two thousandths of an inch and about 7 thousandths of an inch is about maximum. And what you just need to be aware of, the tighter the gap, the more the more accurate it's probably going to be, and you're going to lose less velocity from the gases escaping out of the cylinder gap. However, as you shoot and your revolver gets dirty, it's going to start dragging on the front of the cylinder. So, me personally, I like a gap of about 4 thousandths of an inch. That seems to give you the best of both worlds. I can't find my set of field gauges to show you, but if you don't have them or something like that, a good rule of thumb is if you can fit a credit card in between that gap, it's bigger than 7 thousandths of an inch, and it's probably more than you want. So, anyway, folks, I hope you find this video helpful if you're in the market looking at a used revolver, and I'll be back again soon with another one. Thanks for watching.